Remember the first stimulus with a $787 billion price tag? It was supposed to create jobs and get us out of recession. Well, it didn't. It fell short. But guess what? The Obama administration wants to try it again. His advisors are floating the idea of yet another stimulus, this time to the tune of $200 billion. For more on this and other issues affecting your tax dollars is Republican Congressman from Georgia, Jack Kingston. Welcome, Congressman.
Well, thank you, Jerry. It's great to be with you. And we're very concerned about this administration.
Yeah, well, there's a lot to talk about here. You know, I've been looking at these numbers. A second stimulus, I can't believe we're even talking about it. Is this something you favor?
No, I think it's ridiculous, particularly when you think back that even as early as May of '08, George Bush had a $168 billion stimulus bill, and everybody's forgotten about that, but $168 billion was huge money back then, and then the president came along, as you've pointed out, with the $800 billion one in February '09. It was supposed to keep the unemployment rate from going to 8%, and it's been a total failure. We've been hovering around a 10% unemployment rate. The only jobs that have really come out of the stimulus program are government jobs, not private sector jobs.
And those really don't create wealth. Talk to me a little bit about what's wrong with this idea that we can grow the economy by spending taxpayer money.
Well, we just keep digging the hole deeper. Right now, the debt to revenue ratio, or the debt to GDP, about 90%. We have a national debt of about $13 trillion, and our gross domestic product is about $14.6 trillion. So we're at 90% right now. 65% of the
It's going to go higher from there.
65.
People are saying it'll be 100% of GDP by 2012. How can we stop this?
Yes.
Congressman, how can we stop this, and how can we stop this culture of spending in Washington?
Well, we have to have some structural changes like a balanced budget amendment so that congressmen regain the ability to say no, just as city councils and state legislatures are doing. We have to get in the habit of saying the money's not there. And then you have to realize that 57% of the national budget goes to programs that are enormously popular that affect all of us: Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, veterans programs.
Would you cut
things like
those?
that. We have to get...
Would you cut those? Those are the popular programs. Would you cut those?
Well, Jerry, you know what? It won't be easy, but we're going to have an adult conversation and say, listen, we've got to touch this. And then there's some easier stuff.
Wow, wait a minute.
We don't even want to do that.
Before you go ahead, that's a big statement. You're saying that we should cut those kinds of programs that serve the elderly, that serve the poor, make some fundamental changes in the way we think about spending money in this country. That's a big statement.
Well, it really is. But when you think about the worker to retiree ratio in Social Security was as high as 33 workers to one retiree, and then it went to 19 workers to one retiree, and today it's 3 workers to one retiree, and people are living longer than ever. When Social Security started, people died. The average length of the life was 64. Today, people are living to be 70 years old, and one of the fastest growing segments of the population is people 89 years old. And so we have to say, look, we're healthier, we're living longer. Do we really need to have a age 65 for retirement?
Right.
Do we need to cap your income at $140,000 for Social Security? Is it time to talk about that? And for Generation X, who isn't going to see it anyhow because Social Security is scheduled to go broke in the year 2030, maybe letting them have a portion of it for personal investments. And I know that sounds controversial.
Oh boy, here we go, privatizing 401k. I don't privatizing Social Security. A whole other kettle of fish.
You know, Jerry, it's the same retirement plan that everybody in the Congress and the House and the Senate have. You just pick what kind of fund you want to be in. You can be in a fixed asset fund or whatever. What I'm saying is we as a nation owe it to the next generation to put these ideas on the table, just to talk about them and say, look, where do we go from here? Because we know on the road we're on, we're driving into a brick wall.
Well, let me tell you about one of those brick walls out there, the spending on Fannie and Freddie. Why don't we stop that? You know, this has been a disaster program. It's part of what ran this economy off the rails. Why doesn't Washington have the strength of character to fix this?
You know, to his credit, Senator McCain actually proposed an amendment to privatize Freddie and Fannie. It failed in the Senate at a bipartisan vote. I think 2 Democrats joined the Republicans. They got 43 yes votes, but the bill failed. But I think we got to have that discussion because Fannie and Freddie made easy credit. Everybody got in the business of flipping houses. Everybody thought they were going to be a real estate millionaire, and they led to the meltdown as much as anybody.
Congressman, I just have to ask you one other question. Now, we're talking about excessive spending, wasteful spending, and I have to tell you, there's a lot of wasteful spending in that stimulus money. In fact, there was some $3.3 million that went to Georgia to finance massage and beauty schools, which seems crazy. Now, you probably had nothing to do with that, but isn't that exactly the kind of thing we want to stop?
That is ridiculous, and that's one of the easy programs that it's a no-brainer. Cut it. I'll tell you another one, $7 billion for broadband loans to companies like Verizon to go into rural areas. They were doing that anyhow. Jerry, they were doing that with their own money, and now we've got a $7 billion grant and low-interest loan to do that.
Well,
these ideas go on and on.
Next time we have you on, we'll go through a list of crazy spending items, but really appreciate your time today, sir. I know you're having a busy summer. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
Jerry, thanks a lot, and look forward to seeing you again.